All right, Brewer, I have good news. I have good news. For my entire life, I was told that the climate crisis is going to kill all of us. And Bill Gates put a ton of money up supporting that. Um, However, that appears to not be true. Oh man, let's just start off with a
Yeah,
yeah. Go ahead, let's start there.
yeah. Well, Bill Gates is pushing an agenda, a greater agenda, and the climate narrative is just an excuse for him to push certain things and make certain things happen, and to further his and the WEF or the WEF's goals of 2030 and whatnot. And the fact that he came out and basically reversed his what he's been saying for so long alludes to something extremely sinister. But I won't dive into that yet. Let's see what the video here is going to say, what you're trying to present here, and then we can kind of explore that aspect after.
Yeah. So this is the Facts Matter with Roman Balmakov. I only found him a while ago, but he usually presents factual, articulate ideas and information, and I think that he's absolutely deserving of the followers that he has. I think he deserves more, and I would like to get to the point where I could produce the same level of information dictation in what we produce eventually, but that requires more people
Hmm.
and more knowledge and time. But yeah, let's watch this. We'll just only need to watch like the first little bit of it, but he presents a good kind of open to get the point rolling.
Ahead of the United Nations 30th Annual Climate Conference, otherwise known as COP30, Bill Gates released a memo that you could say surprised a lot of people. That's because in his memo, he seemingly changed his position on climate change, acknowledging for the first time ever publicly that there is no doomsday risk from global warming.
What? But they told me I was gonna die. They swore up and down. There was a clock on a building that told me you had only this much time before it's irreversible.
Yeah, about that.
Huh.
Now, the memo itself is pretty long. It's over 5,000 words, and it's filled with data, graphs, charts, and anecdotes laying out his argument that climate change is not going to lead to the end of civilization. Secondly, that measuring global temperatures is not the best measure for progress on this particular issue.
Wow. Oh man. Okay, so I think this kind of covers the start of it. Um, Actually, no, I want to give it a little bit more.
And that thirdly, the money being spent on climate related issues would be better allocated towards improving human health as well as human prosperity. To get in that
Glad we added that in there. Human health and human prosperity. Did Bill Gates have anything to do with the COVID vaccine?
Yes, he did.
Interesting.
I don't know to the full extent. I don't know what misinformation, disinformation, whatever is out there. I don't know what's factual 100%. But he supposedly had a lot of. He was part of the major push to get the vaccine out as quickly as possible. Was one of the biggest voices for it. I do recall him talking about it quite extensively when it was coming out.
I mean,
So
it'd be a
yeah, he definitely has some influence in that regard, anyway.
and then doesn't he also have like working on lab grown meat? Was that something that was in his realm too?
Yeah, doing the lab grown meat and trying to pull people away from cow farts and everything else. So because it's supposedly harming the environment and causing more greenhouse gas emission, which is less than like 2% of the total gas emissions on the planet, and where like 90% of all of the quote unquote greenhouse gases are actually emitted naturally,
Hmm.
but of course they never actually bring that up.
Right.
So I'm not 100% sure on that exact percentage, but it's a significant majority of the greenhouse gases are all emitted naturally.
Okay. Damn, I had a thought. Where did it go? It was a good one too. Shit. Um. Oh yeah. So I saw a post this week regarding, I think it was Texas cows, where they have been ingesting, or they attempted to do something, some kind of like a methane blocker for the cows, and the cows just are starting to fall over
Died.
dead.
Yeah, I did see that. I didn't read too much into it, but yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
I mean, what are you expecting to mess with? I guess the gastrointestinal like processes of an animal. Like,
Well, you got to think of it this way. Um, it's natural versus artificial. It's essentially, I mean, there are, I don't remember exact passages in the Bible where it actually, what it speaks to, you need to use natural processes in order to do the things you need to survive. The more artificial changes, where you're actually changing, God's design, always seems to come up with detrimental effects versus what they envisioned or hoped it to be.
so everything we've created, basically.
Not everything, but I would say a significant majority. I mean, I can't give you quantifiable terms here, but or quantifiable data 100% here, but if you start looking at all of the unnatural remedies we have, where we have, or, we're always taking a pill that is derived from like petroleum or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
A significant majority of the medicines we take are derived from derived from oil, even at the very basic source, and synthetic. However, you have a lot of natural remedies and natural things that exist in nature in general. I mean, you start thinking about kind of like in anti-parasite type things. And of course, you have ivermectin and fenbuprazine or whatever it's called. But you have the exact same effects from like the wormwood herb, the hull of uh, the green hull of a black walnut, and clove. Like you put all three of those together, and you consume that, a standard dose of that over the period of a couple of months, you will actually rid yourself of parasites. Supposedly, you can go see your doctor. But they have all of these over the counter, not over the counter, but synthesized medications that will do the same thing. But there always seems to be detrimental effects that just don't exist
Because
if you just take a 100% natural remedy,
because it's forcing
or
the,
at least it's
yeah,
yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
it's forcing the receptors of the body to create the response, but it's not a naturally generated response. Because I mean, it's just like a purity test, I guess. At least that's
What do you mean about what do you mean? Sorry, I'm not following your logic there.
I'm trying to figure it out in my head. With natural versus synthetic,
Hmm?
it's a purity test. The closer it is towards natural, the better it is for
Ah,
you. Further
yes,
away, further away from the source, the less it provides.
correct. Like food for nutritional value
Right.
and yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I agree.
So I guess what kind of these strange pieces that we've put together, just talked about in this conversation, we have medicine being given to cows so they don't produce methane, so they don't release cow farts that affect climate change. But now we have realized that the climate crisis isn't going to kill all of us. And so it's all a
It's just all
scam.
about
It's
control.
all a
Yeah, it's a
scam.
scam. It has been. The green energy is also a scam. I mean, yes, I would like to figure out ways to produce energy or create energy that is doesn't use petroleum products, because it is a pollutant. I mean, it is pollution, and just we would be overall healthier if we could, figure out how to create free energy. If you really want to dive into Tesla's, work and stuff like that, how a lot of that was hidden. But it's all about control. It's all about trying to get a very small group of people as wealthy as possible because they're psychopathic. And it's just, yeah, it's always been about consolidating power. That's what the climate crisis has always been, because in the 70s and before, it was all about global cooling,
No,
and then it
it's
shifted
also
over
about
to,
moving money and buying influence. It's how to say that you're on that team. right?
Yeah,
If
that's a
you
good point.
come if you
That's, I
come on
mean,
this
yeah.
team, we'll give you money to Hey, I mean, who would I be to say if Israel wanted to pay me $7,000 a post online, I could produce some A+ propaganda. Let's just just saying.
I wouldn't do it, but yeah.
I wouldn't either. I was just using an example. It'd be really good.
Yeah, I know.
I'm much more
Just
expensive
want
than
to make sure it was.
7K. I'm not a whore. I'm not a cheap.
Give me a couple million
I'm
and
not
maybe,
I'm not a
no,
cheap whore. How about that?
that works.
All right. But yeah, it's it's nice to see, but what do you think the underlying cause for this is? I think that's maybe where I was really leaning for all this. What? Yeah. What do you think? Why'd this
There's
happen?
two trains of thought.
Uh-huh.
Because I have thought about this a little bit and kind of analyzing the information. Is one, uh, Trump is blackmailing him. He's on the Epstein list, I think. And because, kind of evidence of that is that when Trump was going to say he's going to release the Epstein list, he went to work. He being Bill Gates, went to work to try to convince people to not do it. And Trump, I think, is using the Epstein list. Well, I think possibly, within the framework of which I'm trying to
It
construct here,
seems
I would
plausible.
think, yeah, exactly, that Trump is now utilizing the Epstein list as blackmail for all these politicians and other high-powered individuals saying, you will do this or I am going to release the Epstein list and screw everyone.
Nancy Pelosi just
So,
quit too.
yeah, but yeah,
There's a growing list of high profile people that are just secretly not having jobs or quitting.
well, if you want to, okay, from another perspective, another framework, this is the other framework I was speaking to before,
Okay.
but the reason why that is happening is because if you were to release the Epstein list or release a lot of other information, society and the Western society as a whole would crumble completely. So instead of like going after everybody and releasing the list and causing that societal collapse, they're basically allowing certain people to bow out and just kind of disappear.
Hmm.
So
Do
that's
you
possibly one. Yeah.
Hard question. Do you consider that protecting child predators?
Yes.
So now we are faced with the dilemma of, do we make positive changes for the country in support of protecting child predators?
That's a hard question to answer
That's one of the
because
it's one of the main arguments that
yeah.
anybody trying to push for the Epstein list is making. That's the primary argument, and it's not a very good looking one, because from every angle you're kind of wrong. It's like, fucked if you do, fucked if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Exactly.
mean, you said that it would destroy Western society. I don't think so. I think that that's a fear tactic. I think
Oh,
that
100%.
I think that if it was addressed the right way, and if anybody wants to come out and present us with real information, I will always protect my sources. Which I don't have any right now, but if I ever do, I'll protect my sources. Um, it's an
But yeah,
interesting.
I mean, in general, though, I would say that it needs to be released because the problem is that there are too many people who think they know better than everybody else. And if you really want to go down like that trajectory of, how do I say this? Like kind of referencing Homath and his kind of the way he's presenting information, um, the intelligence and the inability for some people to actually process information in an effective manner. That there is actually an argument to be made that you have to protect certain piece of information and certain actions from occurring because people as a whole, in a general, don't really have the capacity to, how do I say this, to process it effectively, to really understand what something means. Because one, haven't been taught the critical thinking skills, or two, literally just are not smart enough to actually understand it. And I'm
3.
not saying it's just kind of, yeah, go ahead.
3. They aren't actually listening.
That's a very good point.
I
They
will.
don't care.
I know
Yeah.
it's not a matter of caring. It's they're just not listening. I'll use myself as a real life example. Whenever I go back and I edit the clips of what we do every week, there are times whenever I'm listening to your side of the argument, your side of the conversation, and be like, "Damn, I didn't even think about that because my head was somewhere else."
Yeah, I have, truth be told, it happens with me a few times too. As you're saying something, it starts a train of thought, and ADHD takes over, and I kind of go down that train of thought for a bit. And I'm still listening to you, but I may not actually absorb the information as well as I should have to prevent or to present a counter argument or agree with the argument. So yeah, I mean we're human. We both have ADHD, so it's kind of a
It
fact of
works.
life.
It
But
works.
yeah, it
Honestly, like
works.
it
Yeah,
works. So I'm not going to complain. But
exactly.
I guess what I just wanted to poke at the end of that there, just because I really don't like being presented with only two ideas, because I always try to believe there's at least a third. You just might have to look for it. Um, and that way, regardless of how we feel, the people that are listening or watching, like how do they feel about the situation? Do you think that you know Bill Gates has malicious endeavors? Is Bill Gates a saint? Where do you sit on this topic of, is he bad or is he good? And I think that's where like that third perspective lies, because I don't like getting messaging where I need to believe something. I don't like people telling me what I
Yeah,
need to believe, but I also like to be informed by what other people share, especially sharing it the right way. So maybe that's just asking for people to share, right?
yeah. Well, okay. Specifically with Bill Gates, actually talk about that for a few moments. Um, the problem is that there's a lot of information out there that's a counter to him. Of course, you have the movement of all billionaires are bad because, and then those are predominantly done by the people who want handouts and don't actually understand the amount of work he put in order to get to where he is. Um, to be clear, I'm not saying anything for or against Bill Gates here, but when you're speaking about malicious, I'm it's very difficult for me to pin down whether or not Bill Gates is malicious, or if he, kind of alluding to what I was speaking of before, he may actually believe that and see through his own personal observations that people in general are dumb, or at least less intelligent than he is from his perspective. And everything that he is doing to try to be for the betterment of humanity. And he may literally believe that everything that he does is for the greater good, even if there is like the ends justify the means type of thing.
Well, that's a logical
Um,
fallacy.
exactly. I'm not saying that, I mean, this is kind of trying to say it like from the framework that he may not actually be doing
Right.
things with malicious intent, but the outcome
Right.
just isn't good.
So the logical fallacy gives him the ability to operate as a god under the framework that you've presented.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that was the other side of it. I was going to get to is that he does see himself, or at least from that framework, does see himself as superior, and so what he thinks is better, and he has the means to actually have things occur. So, but if he is doing it from the malicious side in order to gain some kind of power or control, it's I just don't see the benefit in doing it that way unless he literally is a demon in the classical sense to just bring as much devastation or suffering onto the planet as possible, as what demons do, for entertainment, for mental gratification, or whatever. That there's also a third side I just realized. He could also be doing everything that he's doing because he understands that there is a more malevolent force of some sort, whether it be like an actual conscious malevolence or maybe some kind of natural disaster that is coming, and he is trying everything he can to try to set up systems in order to help, you know, continue the human species after such a disaster.
Yeah,
That's
but
one thought that I have thought a lot about.
it's still
Well, I,
it sounds like
it's
it's rooted in fear.
oh yeah,
So like if I'm not going to buy on anything that if you're trying to sell me with fear, that's not a way to convince me. I'm just going to be like, that's fine. Let it happen. I'm not afraid.
well, it's just me exploring
Oh,
possibilities more than
absolutely,
anything else.
absolutely. And I think
But because I don't like because you specifically brought up the whole like printing of meat and creating of meat or whatever. Um, to me, it kind of seems like he really is like again from the framework, the third framework I just described, that he may actually be trying to create ways to artificially feed the population because like the kind of bringing up the weakening of the magnetic field and all that kind of stuff because there's actually a recent study that came out that showed that as the magnetic field around the planet is weakening because of the pole shift that is currently happening as we speak, it actually degrades the amount of food that is grown. It decreases the amount of food that is grown. And if the pole shift happens, there's going to be a period of time when we're going to have next to no magnetic field protection from, the solar wind. And during that time, how are we going to grow food if the magnetic field's like 10% of what it is at full strength, which would completely destroy, any kind of crops on the surface for the most part. And but if we have ability to print meat, we could still get protein. It may not be, part of the natural cycle, but it might be able to allow the human race to actually survive, not the entirety of the human race, but a very small percentage of the human race to survive, so that we could come back after the pole shift and the magnetic field does begin to regenerate itself, because it will, supposedly. So I mean that's just one, again, not saying that's what I believe or anything else. It's just kind of like a possibility of one of the reasons why he does what he does. So anyway, but that was just a sidebar there.
yeah. Well, I guess if anybody wants to share what they like or think, they can make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment. Let us know what you think.
Mm.
Do you like Bill Gates? Hate Bill Gates? You think Bill's Brewer's crazy? Do you think I'm crazy? We're probably both crazy, but that's okay.